holidays nale, adu namma GT Holidays da. South India's #1 travel brand.
Jenson and Nicholson paints. Whenever you see color, think of us.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.
I wanted this really big actor, a big star, to play a very vulnerable and a very common man. I enjoyed the process so much, and it didn't seem like I was making the same film. Akshay sir himself, he's a far more, what would you say, an outgoing and ebullient kind of a person as compared to Surya. Surya is more intense and he's more tight, coiled, that kind of a performance.
Hi Sudha.
Hello, baddie.
Welcome to Galatta Plus. And congratulations on the release of Sarfira, which is coming up soon. But I want to ask you about the last 10 years of your life, which you spent making Irdi Sutra, Guru, Sala Khadus, which are the same movie, basically. And then now Surya Reporter and Sarfira. I'm not counting the couple of shots that you did for, during the pandemic and little later. So in essence, you spent 10 years with two subjects. Right? That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
What draws you to a remake? Especially 3 times, sometimes.
To be very frank, Irdi Sutra was, I had first gone to Venki to do the film and he didn't do the film. And then I did Irdi Sutra. And, we did it in 2 languages because Maddie's market was there and he was good in Hindi as well. So we shot it simultaneously. So after doing that, I went back once again to Venki and Venki does the film. So for me, that was closure.
Okay.
So I'm always like, I have these little quirks. So that was that. It is something very palatable to the Telugu audience. I'm a Telugu. So, though I haven't lived there, I've lived all my life in Chennai. I felt it was very emotionally. So it worked for me. Then the next thing about this film is, okay, I don't think I'd have made it in Hindi. Perhaps I would have or not or what. But the deciding factor was the fact that my original came in the OTT. And I so wanted to see it in the theatres because I felt it was that community watching kind of a theatrical kind of a film.
It's a big film.
I love community watching. I love going to the theatres and, give me a chance, give me a choice. It will always be the theatres over any other medium. I wanted to do it so badly and it would release in theatres. That was the first promise I got from Vikram. I said, if you guys will release in theatres.
So just to clarify, Vikram, who's produced the...
Vikram Malhotra, who produced Abandansha. He and Akshay sir have produced the film along with Surya. So I said, if we're going to do this as a theatrical release, I'm on. And I would rather, and I have the right of first refusal, so rather me than anybody else. That's what I felt. Because I still felt I had a huge audience to talk to. Still left over from the last film. That's why.
But is there also a sense of being possessive about, this is my stuff, I need to do it?
So, no, it's just, okay, the first film, like I told you, because of the Venki thing.
Right.
Another very important factor was you get paid very little for your first film. Like, you had a disaster before that. And then you're going and you're making your film, Irdi Sutra. So you're paid a little bit. So then when you do the remake, you're paid lots more. So that was for money also. This one is not that. This one was purely because okay, I wanted this really big actor, a big star, to play a very vulnerable and a very common man.
Right.
So somebody right down there with all the struggles to try to make something not regular happen, So when we got Akshay sir on board, I think when when Akshay sir approached us, I felt, yes, this has to be made.
Was he the automatic first choice or did you go through a round of considerations?
No.
Okay.
I think while the film was being made, there were other actors who had approached us and we hadn't released the film as yet. And then COVID happened.
Oh, you mean while Surya Reporter was being made?
Yeah,
okay.
While that was being made, there were people who approached us and a couple of other actors. And but for me, I think it was Akshay sir.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So going back to this remake question, way back in 2006, I asked K. Balachandar this question because he's remade a lot of his films in other languages and sometimes Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Hindi, that kind of a thing. And maybe not Malayalam, but Tamil, Telugu. So this is what he said, right? I'm going to read it out to you. He said it's just a matter of convenience when getting into another language. With a proven subject, it becomes easier for me. A new subject could be a big risk. Yes, redoing something in another language is a big bore, But when I made, for example, Ek Duje Ke Liye from Maro Charitra, most of the cast was different, so a lot of freshness was there. Of course, when there's an earlier movie, there's always the element of comparison, not only for the viewer, but even I start comparing my shots here with the shots I took in the original version. Sometimes they're superior, sometimes inferior. So, do you identify with any of this?
I identify with all of that,
Right.
with all of it, you know. The risk here when you're remaking something that has been liked or appreciated is they're just waiting to tear down the next version. I don't know, they're not very welcoming about it. But even if it's the same director, I'm like, why? You've already done it. Why do you want to go do it? You know, a very popular actor once, like I went to visit his shoot, Hindi actor, a very good friend of mine, and he was saying, "Arey, everybody's seen Surya Potter, why are you doing it?" I said, there are so many people in Tamil Nadu itself who have not seen Surya Potter. What are you saying? Just because you belong to that 2% who's watching the OTT doesn't mean that, you know, there is no people. But yeah, there is a lot of the cast. When the cast changes, the milieu changes. Like how I studied Madurai and how I studied that particular culture. I did the same with we've set it in Maharashtra. We set it in the Deccan Plateau. To learn the culture, to learn all of that is very exciting for me. It's like you live 1,000 lives in your films, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very exciting. If I'd had, like, they did want certain people from the original to play the parts in this thing, but I refused. I said, no, me being there itself is bad enough.
Right.
Because you're not going to do anything different. When somebody says, okay, let's better this, I did the best I could do, even in the original. Whether we had money or no money, at sometimes we had all kinds of challenges, didn't matter. I gave it the best. So now to better that, I really wasn't able to. However, there was a bit of something in the scripting that I was not happy with in the original. So those are the things that I've changed. And the way that film was shot, I couldn't even chop them off in the edit. Everything was interlinked. So those kind of things I could do on paper this time and make it more precise. And I like this. I really like this exercise.
What is the length of Surya Potter?
That was also 230. This is also 230. But I think it's about 230, 235, 225, between those
Something.
two.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close, but yet it's different. I think they're speaking in the languages, in the Tamil, we're speaking much faster. The Hindi, I realized that they were reading it much slower.
Right.
Yeah, so there are lots of differences. And the girl is like, I mean, Seema Biswas, Radhika, and all these people just made my life so fresh. You
Right.
know, you didn't feel like you were doing the same film. Because what they brought in was, and Akshay sir himself, he's a far more, what would you say, an outgoing and ebullient kind of a person as compared to Surya. Surya is more intense and he's more tight, coiled, that kind of a performance. With him, he's like in that proposal scene, even when you see it, you'll realize that he is like flamboyant. He's saying, "Arey, marry me, no, marry me," that kind of thing. Whereas with Surya, it's a lot more like, it's very, what would I say, he's more reserved. So naturally the character is becoming different.
Right.
So I really liked it. And they played the same scene so differently. And that was good for me.
Yeah, so you talked about the proposal scene, but can you talk about a slightly bigger scene where, like, what Surya brings to the part versus what Akshay brings to the part? I'm not talking about better or worse. I'm just talking about, because every actor is different.
Yeah.
So how this person did it versus how this person did it.
I think the processes were different, but where they landed was the same.
Same.
You know, so because I know Surya is a lot more prepared, and we did a lot of readings with him, and he is that kind of a guy, and he keeps telling me I get better and better with takes, you know. So, and but still we did just a couple of takes even for Surya, because I think we rehearsed so much, but the process is different. Whereas with Akshay sir, he always used to keep telling me, my first take is my best, my first take is my best. But no, I realized that as he goes on more takes, he gets better and better and better. So I think we went to about 5-6 takes max. But it was really nice. And he has a process where, like, he's shut off with everything. He just wants to know the mood of the scene, the pre-scene, the post-scene, and that particular scene. And he has his own methods and ways of navigating that. And he's never wrong. He's pitch perfect.
Right.
Maybe in the beginning when we started shooting, perhaps he was smiling more, he was looking a little more happier than he should be, but he settled in beautifully.
Right. Now, as a director, how did you approach both of them? Because, because every actor has a different equation with a filmmaker. How did you approach directing Surya? How did you approach directing Akshay?
So Surya is Surya. I know him for 25, 27 years, and it's much easier telling him what I want, and even to Maddie, it's much easier. It's like ni va po. It's very friendly, very casual, and I can take the liberty of telling Maddie we have no time, just do this and it'll be done. But with Akshay sir, I think it is sir first of all. And this is the first time I'm meeting this gentleman. But since I have no filters, it was almost similar, because I think somewhere the first 6 days, Baddy, I think was not very happy for him. And I was happy because I was doing the way I wanted to. But he was like, what is this girl making me do all of this rubbish? And in her way, I want to do it my way, And then we had a talk, and the producer spoke to me, and he also spoke to me. And I said, okay, you do whatever you want to do. Now, I will tell you when it's not going right. So I had to also let go, because I felt I had created a perfect Mara. I felt there can't be anybody better than Surya. That's the way it has to be played. And then I realized I was suffocating this actor who had his own method. And then we let go. So after 6 days, I even showed him a cut of one particular scene. The first scene we had shot was the scene where he fights with Che, where he fights with his friends.
With his friends, yeah.
And I had cut it and I had shown it to him. And after that we were shooting, and one day he comes to me, the next day or something like that. He comes, sits next to me. He says, Ma, I have a way of performing. I have a way of doing things. I have a process. But this is the first time I am trying to understand what's going on in your head. I'm trying to give you that. So I said, very good. I love it. So I think from there we made peace, and we just had a wonderful time. I really enjoyed working with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, I was speaking to Vikram the other day, and he said something that is, because I've known you for so long, and this is he said, Sudha's not everybody's cup of tea. I said, I know exactly what you mean, because, and we mean it in a very positive way, right?
Because he means it in a positive way, but Akshay says, iska to filter hi nahi hai. He keeps saying. I said, so I say whatever I feel like. So sometimes he was a huge, I really grew fond of him during the process, and he was he would show me the looks of some of his other films, and then I'd say, oh, this is looking really good, but here you've got something stuck on your face. I don't like stuck on mustaches and all that. He says, Arre Ma, how can you tell me this will take 1.5 months to grow? So I'll say, yeah, okay, so grow it. So he said, then for 1.5 months I won't have work. So I said, okay, you're poverty stricken, right? You're going to be out in the streets, right? And then he started laughing. And I'll say, you have no filters. So we are I think we had to break those barriers and just be happy. And I had to let go of certain things, and he needed to let go of certain things. I had met Twinkle on a show that I'd had for him long back. This was almost a year ago when the cut was complete. It was a double positive. And she was telling me, I know the two of you, for the first couple of days, you all were not all hunky-dory. I said, no, 6 days. So then she was laughing, and then I believe she told him, why don't you just try what she's telling you to do? Maybe something different will come out. She's really fabulous. I really like her. I just see a mirror image, So, but overall, I have to say, I enjoyed the process so much. And it didn't seem like I was making the same film.
Right.
The sets, the way, everything was so different.
Also the milieu, as you said. Yeah.
So different, and the way they do things is so different.
Right.
The mother wouldn't cry the way Urushi ma'am would cry, and Seema ma'am was doing it in a certain way. And I just let it be. Even with Paresh sir, I found a significant difference. Though he's done both the films, not a significant difference in the way he was playing it. And even this, KK, who does Che's role, he's struggling a bit with the Hindi.
Yeah.
So he plays a South Indian in the film. He plays a Telugu boy. So I got that from that. So it just made it very special. I really liked all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see one scene in this film, which is my absolute favorite, not just in your writing career, but also in Surya Poetry, which is to see how that scene where this man asks his wife for money plays out in the new version, because Surya's phenomenal in that. That girl is, Aparna Balamurali is like so receptive and wonderful, and the dynamics of that scene, the way it's written, it's just so phenomenal. I can't wait to see what you've done with that. So, but I think that's one thing that you're always going to have to contend with, right? It's like there is going to be an overlap population that's seen this and seen that, like K. Balchandar said, that there's always going to be this comparison aspect. What do you deal? How do you deal with that? It's like there's going to be some people who are going to approach this film having that film in their heads, which you can't erase simply because they've seen it, which you might have faced in other films as well.
Oh yes, yes. So what happens is this film has become very different from the original. I feel that's what first reactions are from your music director and your technicians and everything. So GUVI comes to watch it and he says, "Arey, I didn't feel like I'm watching a Tamil film. I felt like I was watching a different film." It's because of the performances and everything. Now I have hardcore SP fans who are my assistants who did not come and work on the Hindi film. They stayed back here working on the script of Purnanuru. So those guys were the ones that I was wary of, because they were prepared to hate the Hindi film. And when they watched it and they came out, they all looked poleaxed. I'm like, it's good. Oh, it's good. So they had nothing negative to say. So I'm hoping I see more of that from, people who've seen the film already.
Right. So which are some of your favorite biopics?
Social Network, easily. Aviator also. Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
My most favorite.
Right. The reason I asked you that is because film is a condensed medium of any story that you want to say. You have two and a half hours, that's all. You can't compress an entire life into it, right? Captain Gopinath, he joined the army, not the Air Force. He was an entrepreneur. He already did some silkworm farming stuff. Then he went and did some hotel stuff. Then he did something with motorcycles. He fought in the India-Bangladesh war. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
This is a very different story. Also, he was a relatively privileged man, whereas the characters of both underprivileged backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, again, my belief is that it is not the job of a film to be true to the thing as long as it captures the essence. What do you feel about taking something from real life and the process of representing it on screen?
So I think one of my favorite examples, I could say, something that really influenced me when I was making this biopic or any biopic when I write something, is what Scorsese had done with Aviator. So he gets that schizophrenic attacks and everything much later in life. He brought them earlier. Or he gets them earlier and he made them. So actually Captain Gopinath started his airline at the age of 50. 54, I think. And he had a huge life that he's lived before that.
Right.
Various phases of his life. He had a chopper, hiring a chopper thing, chartered chopper thing, and all of that. Now, what interested me about his life, the maximum, everything interests you, but that's for a series.
Right.
And that format was really not there at that point of time in India. And perhaps I'll make a series on his life. And that's something that really excites me.
Don't go into another remake now. Leave
not
this.
Remake, but there's still so much to say about his life. But what I really, what fascinated me was, here is this man who's talking about disrupting something so, what would I say, so classist. I mean, you travel by flight, you were the cream of this particular society. You would not tear off your tag, the airline tag. You would carry it on your bag just to say that I've flown, And here is this man who's saying everybody should fly. And he made it happen. He did it. So to me, that was magic. The day he put somebody on a flight who could not afford to fly for 1 rupee is the climax of my film.
Right.
I think that's the greatest thing he's done to Indian aviation, and he needs to be talked about for that. So I just took that aspect of his life. And yes, you're saying it is a fictionalized version of it. He's a man from Karnataka. I placed him in Madurai.
Right.
The same way, he's a man from Karnataka. You place him in Maharashtra. So I'm saying it doesn't matter where he's coming from. I just want him to be relatable to that particular audience. Hence, I make these changes. That's all there is to it.
Right.
Sometimes I feel if I'm just going to say it the way it was, then it's a documentary. Now, the fact that his plane, the first inaugural plane, caught fire is the truth. How it caught fire is my fiction.
Right.
The fact that his planes were not allowed to land. He had the hangar booked, he had everything booked, and they were circling and they were not allowed to land, saying that this particular document is not there. How I dealt with it is different.
Right.
I took a Saudia plane, had landed at the Tambram airport, and I mixed both of them. I just dramatized the whole thing.
Right,
I just made it interesting. I am doing this for entertainment, and through entertainment to say something that I want to say.
Right.
What I loved about his life, like back then when India was not so open, it was just liberalization had just started. Here is this guy who doesn't give up. 10 years, the man keeps going to get his license. Why doesn't he get a license? Everybody is telling him, all you have to do is bribe. He said, I can't look at my face. I'm not bribing. I'm not bribing anybody. So he'll go in a train, he can't afford that also. His wife was like sponsoring him, and he goes and he sits there patiently with a license. So I'm like, I love this guy. He is fabulous, you know. So, and he gets angry, he is short-tempered, he is very intelligent, so he has very little patience with people who are not moving at the same speed as him. So all those qualities really interested me and intrigued me, and I just took it all and built it in an entertaining fashion, and that's it.
That's the way you looked at it.
That's the way I look at it.
Your very first writing project, I think it was 2002, was Mitra, My Friend. The film released in 2002.
Yeah.
You probably started writing a year or so earlier.
2009, I think. No, what am I saying? 1999, 2000.
Yeah,
That's when
yeah.
we written it.
Written it, yeah. So that means about 25 years of screenwriting, being there. What are the things that have changed in terms of a mainstream screenplay that you've seen? What are the things that, how would you have written a screenplay then versus how do you write something now? I don't mean physically how, but I'm talking about, do you write shorter scenes now? Do you say that, there are things like audience attention spans. Do you pay attention to that now? How do you deal with narrating a story then versus now?
So I made very little, I have a very small body of work actually. So each one is fresh. What the story asks of me, I do. And despite me starting very late in life, I'm fresh because I make so less. I've made so less. So I'm saying there is not such a vast difference. This is my style through Mitra. Mitra was softer. Mitra was a little more verbose because I think the story was written by Priya and somebody else was directing it. So they wanted it a little more that way. Right. I am a lot more sharper. So I think that's how I've evolved. Now I am not apologetic about putting my voice out there. So earlier I was a little couched, I was trying to be a little, I don't know, accepted. I don't know. I was very nervous back then. Even now I'm nervous. It's not like I'm not nervous, but I'm saying, come what may, I'll take it.
Right.
I'm braver.
When you say sharper, what do you mean? Tighter? Scenes are more concise?
Tighter, and I don't go around being so explanatory. I leave certain things to imagination and all of that. I had done a lot more of that in Irdi Sutru, in the Tamil film. And then what happened was when I was sitting with Raju sir and we were cutting.
Yeah,
like I had taken a
Raju
cut.
Hirani.
Raju Hirani.
Yeah.
I had taken a cut to him, which was a 2-hour, 20-minute film. And then he felt, he said, so what is your problem with this? Because he really liked that cut. So I said, no, I find the rhythm really, I'm not able to correct the rhythm on the top of the film. I always seem to have that problem. The tops of my films is where I'm like trying to find my rhythm, and I get better with the second half, you know. So we sat and we worked on it and everything. And then I realized that what Raju sir was saying in certain scenes is like, they were a little ambiguous. And I shot it that way because I wanted that ambiguity. He was the one who said, you know, would you like it if your question is not answered? So I think we simplified stuff. We opened up a few knots. So the two different schools, Manisa's school and Raju Hirani's school. This is simplifying a lot more to the least common denominator. With Manisa, he leaves a lot to be unraveled. So somewhere I've learned writing this way from, I think, Raju Hirani. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, so the most obvious question then is, can you give an example of Surya Potru or Sarfira, whichever one, where you would have done something a certain way earlier, but now this is Sudha's voice and I'm doing it this now?
Okay, let me start off with Irdi Sutru, Salak Hadus, wherein the sister, she does that to the locker and breaks the younger sister's hand. I left it ambiguous. She goes running to her and I left it ambiguous ki, oh, maybe it could have been a mistake. And I reveal later that the sister always knew that she wanted to break her hand and that sister always knew that she was breaking her hand. But somehow, I think Raju sir was saying it's better to open it out. So I opened it out. I actually had a close-up of hers and I had the way she did it. I explained it all. I was fearing the risk, what if they didn't understand it? Because behind me was a failure. There was Drohi, which hadn't worked. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to listen to somebody who's got his math right, you know, in his films. He's like given only successes. So that's how it happened. Now today in Surya Potru or in Sarfira, I think the usage of like bad words or a cuss word or just bringing down cutting down a person to size, I just do it. I mean, if there's bad words, there's bad words. And if I'm talking openly about the system or anything at all, I do it.
Okay.
I don't feel any. It's power my producers, and later, like, you know, when you're sitting and battling with the censors and stuff, it's a little tricky. But I don't let all that hold me back anymore.
Right.
Because it was a lesson taught to me by my sister-in-law, I remember still, and I had done Drohi and it had failed, and we were living next door to each other, and I used to be very upset, and then she would say, I know the way you say stories. Like, I used to all the time tell my nieces, nephews, all of them stories, and they used to love it. She says, this is your voice, that is not your voice, you know, so why don't you just do what you really want to do? And I think I got that guts from there on. I said, I must do only what I want to do. Because I even remember Bijoy and my good friend and Tamil M.A. Ram Subbu, all of them telling me, and even Kumar Raja telling me at that point of time, we don't care if the film's doing, whether it's worked for the audience, or whether it's commercially successful or not, but without a doubt, I've said what I wanted to say. So I learned from there. I learned after my first film. There were a lot of compromises on your first film, and I have no excuses for that. I was just plain bad at what I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I needed to get better. And that was a big learning curve, 6 years of it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Given the fact that we've spoken about how important the heroine is in the scheme of things, it is very rare to find in a love story, yes, it's easier to find a heroine who has an equal weight as a hero. But in a story like this, which is more like a hero's journey story, to also have the heroine have an aim, have a journey, and all that kind of stuff, that's quite rare. So when you were doing auditions for the Hindi version, and when Radhika Madan appeared, what was the quality that made you say, yes, I found her, she's the one?
She's spunky. She's so spunky and she's so real. Even before her audition or even before she read anything for us, I had watched Pataka, right? And I thought, this girl is crazy. She's mad, that energy. And she has no reservations on screen, you know. And she's not like, okay, if I smile like this, or if I have this expression, I don't look my best. That's not there with her. So I love that uninhibited quality about her. Yeah.
That's what came through.
Yeah.
There was an audition.
No, I did not audition.
Oh, you did not audition. Okay.
I like Pataka so much. And then we just did readings. And she just settled in.
Right.
So really good. But my first thought was, when I saw her, was like she was this tiny little thing, and she's become really skinny for her previous film, the series that she had done, that Saas Bahu,
right,
that thing, you know.
Flamingo, yeah.
Yeah, I said, you have to put on weight. So the poor child had to actually sit and put on weight in the 1.5, 2 months that she had.
Right, given that at least in the Tamil version she's a glutton and she keeps eating. The very first time I see her, she's eating in the train, right?
She looked about 15, 16. So I said, you have to look a little older.
Yeah.
Perhaps, I don't know what you'll do. You just make yourself look a little older, because that's not okay otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the last 10 years, your films have been against all odds films, in a way, of like the very broad arc, right? It's like a girl from nowhere, against all odds, ends up achieving a goal. A guy from nowhere, against all odds, ends up achieving his goal. This draws you something about this. What is it?
The underdog story.
The underdog story.
Yeah, that's me. So I like it.
Okay.
It comes easily to me.
Right.
And it moves me. So to me, when I'm watching a film, like I feel very emotional when there is a lot of difficulty and then you get to where you want to get to and you've succeeded. That's when I break down. Because I think that's my life journey. It's taken a long, long, long time and a lot of obstacles in every which way. And I put it out there. It comes naturally. It's like, how do I say it? Perhaps for someone who's not really experienced that, it wouldn't come as naturally as it's coming for me. And people might find that very melodramatic or dramatic or overly dramatic, or, you know, they may say like, Arey, what is this? Like, it's like, you know, very cringe even. But to me, that's how I feel. Like, I remember shooting the climax of Surya Potru, 9th day of shoot, I think, 9th or 13th day of shoot. We were shooting the climax. And Surya was asking me, how much, what is the emotion here? How much more? What am I feeling? And I remember talking him through the scene, and I was wearing my glasses and the tears were just pouring down. So he said, remove your glasses. So I removed my glasses. He said, okay, come, let's go shoot. So it was that, you know, I still remember an incident when we were shooting Yuva in Hindi in Calcutta. I was raw. Though I had done Mitra, my friend, that was a smaller film, and then here you are on this huge film. I did not know that for an action sequence, you're supposed to have doubles and triples. You know, I did not know. So it was a Fab India kurta that I had given Pravin, and Pravin dies, and he has to be shot. So Ravi K was the cameraman, and he said, so you have another one, no? So I said, for what? He said, and I was very arrogant with my work and all that. I still remember, I used to be like this even back then. So I used to say like, for what? So he said, he's going to get shot. If he doesn't get shot right the first time you need, this is a stunt sequence. So I said, but nobody told me. And then, my God, baddie, I went chasing for a Fab India kurta all over Calcutta, and the shoot was happening, and I needed it for that night or for the next morning. And you won't believe it, the next day, I mean, there was a package that had just arrived, and I go into the godowns and I'm opening it and I saw it and I took it. It was like, oh my God. I took 2 of those and I went back, and Shad was there, Shad Ali, and everybody else was there. Chintuda was there. And I am like sobbing and sobbing. And Shad was understanding, but Chintuda is like coming and he's like saying, why are you crying? You got it, no? You got the shirt. Why are you crying? Chintuda, I got it. And I'm crying some more. So it's like that achievement. So I remember telling Surya, you are so exhausted after that journey. It is relief. You do not feel joy at all. It's just relief that, okay, God, we did it, you know? So that is what I wanted him to get, and he got that so easily, and it was the same thing for Akshay as well.
Right, and I think that's what draws you maybe to these stories. Is Purananuru an underdog story as well?
Yeah, but it's an anti-system story.
Right.
That's what I like.
Right, because GUVI has already said that it's about the anti-Hindi imposition movement in the 60s. Yeah.
Did he? He's not supposed to talk about all this.
He said this long back, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
He told you personally?
No, it came out in the papers.
Oh, so he's the culprit. So whatever it is, it's a story of
just a line. He didn't say anything about that, but that's he said that's what it's about.
It's set against that kind of a it's like in that background. It's an anti-oppression system. Film. I think all my films I've fought that thing of oppression. Like when this girl, it's a girl boxer, it's an amateur boxer, and she's also from that milieu, right? So it makes it difficult for her. Yeah, she is. And how does she break the barriers and she gets in? It's been very difficult for most women, I think. Because you have to accept the fact that it is so many centuries of patriarchy. You have to accept it and beat it.
Beat it, yeah.
And if you say it's not there, it's not existing, it's bullshit. So everything exists, every kind of separation and every kind of oppression and every kind of division exists, and then you just beat it. You don't go sit and cry about it. So this is also an anti-oppression kind of a thing. It just believes that, okay, this is my faith, this is my belief, I fought for something, I own it, and why should I do something that somebody else is saying?
Right.
That's it. It's a very simple line, actually.
And actually, in one way, it's a very timely line also, given what's happening right now. So it's
it's just that, you know, as a person, that comes through in my films. Though I'm a centrist, I do tend to lean a bit towards left, perhaps, and I do say that oppression is not okay. Man, woman, animal, child, transgender, anything. Oppression is not okay. Rich, poor, or whatever. One person trying to, throttle another person is not okay. I felt that all my life. And I empathize with that. And I don't think it's okay. Which is why it's...
Is that why you have that line in Surya poetry saying it's not just about the cost barrier, but also about the...
That's what that gentleman said. Perhaps that's what attracted me to that story in the first place. That's
what judgment was that?
He said that.
Right.
Gopinath said that. He said that I not just want to break the cost barrier, I want to break the caste barrier. So you had a person selling fish, or you had a person from the lower strata of economics or socio-eco or whatever political, cultural milieu, sitting with somebody who owns a factory. So his employee is sitting here and the employer is sitting here, which is great. Which is great. Which is what happens when you what do you say? Remove that thing saying this is luxury. So why does an LV sell at that price?
Yeah.
Or why does a Rolls Royce sell at that price? So I mean, removing the snobbery out of that thing, the most expensive industry in the world, was something. I think his story is like magical to me.
So was that the part about Surya taking that guy to the Udupi restaurant for a local like a dosa kind of thing? Was that fiction, or did that happen with
fiction written by my screenplay writer who wrote with me?
Okay.
Shalini had come up with that particular staging.
Because that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Because he used to call it my Edecon is the Udupi hotel in the skies. He would say that. So she set it in an Udupi hotel, and I really loved that. Initially we had set it in a posh club, and then she said, no, let's do it this way, and it works so much better.
Right. Yeah. So looking forward to Sarfira and your next project after that, whatever it is. Is it going to be this, or
it's going to be a Tamil film?
Right, but it may not be this Purananuru. It may be something else.
Could be, needn't be.
Right.
But it's a Tamil film.
Okay. All right. So welcome back to Tamil soon.
Thank you.
Always good chatting with you.
Thank you. Holidays nale, adu namma GT Holidays da. South India's #1 travel brand.
Jenson and Nicholson paints. Whenever you see color, think of us.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.